Okay, shit. I have no idea how I'm gonna get this set up. Um, it's been a long time since we did one of these. It's been even
God,
longer since.
yes.
Let me look how long it's been. I think it's been 5 months.
Mm.
Yeah, the last time that we did one of these was 5 months ago when we did the Pirates of the Caribbean.
God, we've
Um, which was an
been.
even longer gap than the gap between that one and the previous one. And in that, I was making a big deal about how long it had been. So look at us for consistency. It's been half a year,
Wow.
basically.
Yep.
How's your half a year been, Harry?
It's been good. It's been very good, actually. Yourself?
Oh, it's been swell. I actually watched these movies recently, Harry. I don't know if you've
Oh,
heard of
yeah.
them. Um,
Great transition.
these movies are by a certain director, Steven Spielberg.
I think I've heard
Yeah,
of him before.
yeah. He's made a couple of famous movies. But these are kind of some of his more niche ones. But it's great that you've also happened to watch them. I guess that means that we can talk about them. Hey, Harry.
Yeah, what a funny quinky dink.
What a funny coincidence. Now, okay, I'm just going to put this out there in case, in case somehow anybody other than us even watches these, which, usually we get about 10 people. I mean, the Wallace and Gromit one's like popped off. That's got like 100 views.
Mm,
Um, so, there might be somebody out there watching this who's really judging the quality of our assessment. Personally, I started watching these movies back in April, and the most recent one was at least a month ago. For you, it's been a little bit more recent, but not super
yeah.
recently. When did
Not.
you when did you watch these?
Oh God, it's been like I don't know. It's at least like minimum been 2 weeks.
Yeah. So with that sort of in mind, um, let's just put that out there and say that this maybe not as sharp and fresh of an assessment as is ideal or as we've done in the past. But we'll come back stronger and better, and whatever the Daft Punk
Yeah,
song is next time, and
exactly.
and with that in mind, I guess I'll just jump into this. So yeah. So last episode, my recommendation was that we do what I'm gonna dub here the Steven Spielberg blockbuster trilogy, even though he's made more than three blockbusters, but these were really three of the most formative ones, and those are Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Jaws, I wanted to recommend a while ago because it was the 50th anniversary last year, and then we just never got around to it in time. And then Close Encounters and E.T. I've always thought are an interesting what's the word? Like two movies to watch together. They're interesting to watch in tandem and talk about in tandem. And so I thought I'd
Mm.
sort of throw them together. Um, you've seen Jaws before, is that right?
Yeah, I have seen Jaws. It was a very, very long time
Very long
ago,
time ago,
though.
yeah. I'd seen all of
Yeah.
these movies before, but it had been a while for Jaws and E.T. and probably a little while for Close Encounters as well. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll get us started then. So, the first movie I recommended was Jaws from 1975. Not Steven Spielberg's first movie. I think it was his third or fourth. He'd made a couple of things before this, including a movie I like quite a bit called Duel, which is a sort of fun, low budget, a thriller movie about a guy being chased in the desert by a sort of ghost truck. But this was definitely his sort of breakout film. Um,
Mm.
I think everybody really knows what Jaws is about. It's about a shark. It's a shark that goes around eating people on this small island, or this small little bay. What's the bay even called? Like seriously, it's been
I
this
think it's
long.
like Amity Bay, is it? I
Amity
mean,
Bay.
that's
Okay, what I'm gonna do just to avoid embarrassing myself is I'm gonna get the Wikipedia's up for all of the movies that we discuss, just so I can seem like I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, Amity Island in New England.
oh, was it
Um,
Islands? Yeah.
uh, it stars Roy Scheider as this is embarrassing. Okay, where's the okay, yeah, as Martin Brody, the police chief, and Richard Dreyfuss as the scientist Matt Hooper, and then Robert Shaw as a sort of old sea what's the word sea dog, Quint.
I mean, that is,
Um,
yeah.
those are the three main characters. The rest of them are just sort of like fodder, really.
Yeah,
Um,
nobody really cares.
um, Yeah, okay, I'll put this to you. What do you think of Jaws on your recent rewatch, semi-recent rewatch?
Um, it's legitimately like I don't know if I'm being very liberal here when I say this. I think it's like one of the best movies I've ever watched.
It's okay. Well, we're off to a good start. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome.
Mm.
It's a such a actually no. Sorry, I'll let you talk a little bit about what you like so much first.
Yeah, no, I think this is a lovely film in terms of it's 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 a film I would describe as simplicity done extremely effectively. Like
Absolutely.
if you break down the plot of it, it's quite simple. Big
Hmm.
shark comes to the bay, eats a couple people, and then these three guys go off and kill it, right?
Mm.
And there's like a B plot with the mayor who doesn't want the beach shut down because he's like because that's like the main form of their tourism and their money, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to lose that for the town. Um, and because it's like set in New England, it's like there's the running thing of like there's lots of other beach towns. So like if this beach gets shut down, all those tourists are going to go off somewhere else. They're although that plot is pretty quickly abandoned almost like by like the I don't know whatever it is like the fourth death or whatever, then they're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever, we're just gonna go off and kill it, right?
Yeah.
um but in spite of that pretty simple premise, it is just done flawlessly. Like the
It is.
acting, sublime, phenomenal. The camera work is some of the best I think in a movie. Actually, I think the way
Yeah.
they shoot a lot of the scenes is just brilliant.
Mm.
Um, along with like, especially that the main bit at the end with the final climax. It's a quite a harrowing movie. Like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
there's some great stakes to it,
Yeah.
and you really do go, holy shit, this thing is terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely you do. It's a very, very effective movie in terms of just I mean, like this is one of the first blockbusters. Like arguably one of the ones that sort of like started the blockbuster as a genre or a spectacle or whatever. But you know, this is worlds apart from the fucking indulgence and overblown shit we get now from like Marvel and whatever.
Mm-mm.
It's so clever and so effective in how it's just a movie that is designed to entertain and to pull you in and to just enthrall you and to thrill you and to scare you, and it does it all so well. Like yeah, it's like you said, it's simplicity done extremely effectively. It's got so much of what is so great about 70s movies in it, just in terms of like dealing with limitations, budgetary limitations, practical limitations, and making things work. Like you mentioned, the camera work, obviously. Um, you know, I haven't delved terribly deeply into the production of this film, but from what I can tell, it was not easy. From what I've heard, it was not easy. Like the massive pyrotechnic shark that they built was obviously a nightmare to use. And they got very little sort of like out of it, and so they had to be very creative about what they showed and how they worked with it. And you know, whether by intention or just by pure circumstance, what you get is a film that is very often intentional in what it doesn't show you and in how it builds suspense through not showing you this shark. Like, I mean, you know, we're sort of I guess we're skipping around in terms of the plot here, but like, yeah, in that final sequence, that bit where the shark finally emerges from the water as he's just throwing the bait out and he just sits bolt upright in his seat is what is such an
Mm-mm.
amazing like scene, because it's you feel exactly as he does. You just go, holy shit, that thing is terrifying, because up till that point you haven't really seen it at all, and then you've just seen it like munching on people, on children, by the way. Like it kills a child. That's another thing. The shark
Mm.
kills a child.
Yeah,
You
this
wouldn't
movie
do
doesn't fuck about. It
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 does
is
not fuck about. You wouldn't do
it.
that anymore, would you?
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't
Um,
because of woke. You couldn't do that anymore. um,
it's a joke.
it's a joke. Well, yeah, I think we should clarify, because we're two people, men doing a podcast. That was a
Mhm.
joke. Um,
But in a serious sense, there is like it is. like very visceral. All the death, basically all the deaths in this movie, like
Yeah.
they they don't cut away, they don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
When someone dies, they die.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of there's a lot,
Blood,
there's a lot, yeah,
gore.
blood, guts, and gore, yeah, in it. Which I think in this movie is like it's a definite necessary. I know there's probably some movies out there where you go like it goes over the top or it's like just relentless or a bit
Mm.
much, so it just like
Yeah.
takes you out of it or makes you a bit sickly.
Yeah.
But I think in this, it's the points when they do it. They allow a lot of time between it, so it's not just a barrage of blood.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's really key moments and points when they do it. They don't. There's no deaths for unnecessary sake or
No.
like just random killings. It's not like meant to be like a horror film.
No.
It's
Well, it's not a slasher anyway.
yeah. Sorry, I mean, I guess it is in a sense a horror film, but like not one of those ones where it's just like
Yeah.
buckets of blood. It's all very key kind of thing, and but I always think at some points they draw more suspense in the moments where people don't die, like especially
Absolutely.
is it the second or third beach scene where the what's the police? This is great, yeah. What's the main police name? His name is
Brody.
Brody,
Brody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like his son is
Yeah, yeah.
like
They're in the
Dave
little
or some
lagoon, right? Yeah.
yeah, and there's just like them trying to get back onto shore. And there's before that, there's a fake out where there's like a boy who's like
Mm.
swimming around with like a shark like
Right.
hat or something, like a fin hat or something, doing like a fake out. So all these people run out of the water,
Yeah.
and then it cuts across the bay to I think it's like some lady or a girl who's pointing out that there's a shark there. So the way that it kind of ebbs and flows and like makes you that you come in and out of being like the suspense where you think it's all calm and then it's back up again and then so it's great at doing that. It's great at like,
Yeah.
pulling with your like I guess emotion in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't use it doesn't use violence as a crutch. It doesn't use it as just like it doesn't lean on it as being the only reason why you would be interested in watching the movie. It's not just like there to shock you. The violence, like you said, it serves a point, and it's also there to it's just so purposeful in how it uses everything and how it uses every scene basically. Like it's not just a movie that's like, well, we're going to make a movie about a shark that goes around eating people, and the only reason anybody would watch it is because there's a shark and they want to see the shark eat
Yeah.
people. It's and so they're able to have these scenes where no one actually gets eaten because people are suspenseful. People are invested in what's going to happen without having to see someone's limbs get torn off and their fucking like guts spilling into the water and whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, I mean, okay, I guess like the overarching thing is, for me, and this is something with all of these movies, is we talked about this a bit from what I remember in the Pirates video, Pirates of the Caribbean, about how, like, even for the flaws that those movies have, there's so much character and so much life and so much thought put into certain aspects of them that they sort of aged quite well in respect to like the slop of a lot of modern blockbuster or like broad movies now. And this is like, if that's true of Pirates of the Caribbean, it's 10 times as true as a movie like this, because like it's this is not a long movie. How long is it? It's like what, 100 minutes? What's the
Yeah.
runtime? Oh, it's not okay.
124.
It is 2 hours, but still, it's not a it's a very effective. It's a very to the point action movie, thriller movie, but it's able to also build these characters up quite effectively and make you invested in them, make you think about them. It's able to like have things that it wants to say and messages and ideas that it wants to convey to the audience. It's not just, it doesn't just waste 2.5 hours of your time, like a modern Marvel movie about some random obscure comic book character would do. It's it's I don't know, I'm very impressed by movies like this that are able to do everything that it does in such a relatively short time frame and feel so concise and effective. It's very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think because you do, like I said before, it's got a very, for its simplistic plot, it is able to do a lot with it. Like
Mm,
it's not, by no means is it by the numbers. It gives itself enough time and enough chances to ingratiate ourselves in the audience to this to our main character Brody.
mm,
Because the main star of this film is going through, in a sense, I guess his life and his day
oh
with
yeah.
his wife, his kids, and then his workplace and what he like everything he has to do. And you learn about a lot of his fears and a lot of his history. Um, and the brilliant thing about how well he's like integrated in the story is he is both a fish out of water, but also the most normal person. Like
Yeah.
it is a world of like people who either are very strange or like quite dumb, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, well, maybe not necessarily dumb, but just like there's a lot of very self-confident people or people who are very self-serving in this film, i.e., the mayor.
Mm,
Um, and he sits in the middle here, where he's like played as the straight man, and he's meant to be the kind of, I guess, in a sense, an audience like self-insert in the way that
yeah.
constantly like kind of questioning the other characters and not fully being on the same like wavelength with them. He doesn't understand as much about the sea and sharks as a lot of the other sailors, but he's also not like he also questions things, unlike the mayor and a lot of the fishermen and the police.
Mm,
And in doing so, he's the most normal one, but also in this world the weirdest one
yeah.
because he does all this. Um, which just makes his character even more endearing to the audience.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's so like well set up how you have like I mean, obviously with the sort of climax of this film you have Brody and is it Hooper is the scientist, I believe.
yeah, I
It's
believe.
it's Richard Dreyfuss and
Yeah.
then Quint, the three of them together. It's just like a perfect
Oh,
like trio because they all balance each other
yeah,
out so well. It's like like these aren't characters. We're not necessarily watching a movie here with like the most incredibly deep. We're not watching The Godfather Part Two here or anything. But at the same
yeah,
time, these characters are genuinely compelling and interesting and complex, and they don't feel one note at all. They don't feel like they're there to just serve the story. I mean, obviously, you have like that scene later on where they're all talking about what are they talking about? Like their, experience, like close death experiences or something.
mm-hmm.
That's a very obvious way in which it's able to like build up these characters and stuff. But it does that all the way through the film. It's like you were saying before, like yeah, after you get that sort of very gripping opening sequence of the two just random people getting eaten by, or the random person getting eaten by the shark. It then slows the pace down a little bit, and it takes you through
Mm.
Brody's day to day, and it sort of like introduces you to him and to the politics of the island and to everything. Um, and it's just it enhances the ability to it enhances the film's ability to pull you in and to be thrilling and compelling, and for those action scenes, those horror scenes to work so much better because you care about the characters. You're genuinely invested in things. It doesn't just rely on them showing someone's head being pulled off by the shark's mouth and then the blood spurts out of the torso, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. And I think the effect of that is like it's a film that obviously is incredibly timeless, and is able to sort of endure beyond just being like a silly schlock money-making action film. Like, funnily enough, when I first watched this movie, it was during the first sort of outbreak of COVID, And obviously when they were making this movie, they didn't know what COVID was, but it ended up being an incredibly spot on parallel to the ways in which
Mhm.
places, certain groups and certain communities and or whatever, certain political or whatever factions were responding to COVID and saying, well, we can't let this thing impact our day to day. Meanwhile, it was fucking, killing people. Um, and that was just that's not a product of anything intentional necessarily on the filmmaker's part. It's just a product of how, it's a film that's just genuinely good. It's. I
Mm.
mean, there's only so many ways you can say that. It's just a really good movie that does more than just being um, a silly shark movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think what's so great about that, or more actually, what like caused such that effect is even though the shark part is the most unrealistic part in this movie, but
Yes.
otherwise everything else is played
Yeah.
extremely real, I
Yes.
think,
Yes.
and in a good kind of way, in a way that this world 100 feels real, and this feels like it could easily have happened to any, town or any kind of thing, or you could see this in your own life, no matter where you live. I think you could see a lot of the actions and the reactions. Um,
Absolutely.
100%, you could see people who, um, were more interested in money or other ideas rather than tackling the problem. And
Hmm.
you could see equally as much people who were, um, you know, very quick to question a lot of things or very quick to, ask for more details or more action like Brody does. So, like, both sides of how people would react to such a scenario are fully shown in this movie.
Yeah.
It's That's what makes this, quite great. Is again, it's just that I think this movie does really well is connecting you to the world and the characters extremely well, better than lots and lots of other movies. You know a lot about these characters, how they act, how they feel, and their reactions to this event, and that in turn just makes you want to more and more be a part of this world and to know about these characters, and especially to know about Brody
Hmm.
and actually all three of those guys on the boat, Quentin Hooper as well. All three of them, all three of them get plenty of time for you to understand their character,
Yeah.
learn about them, and want to know more about them.
Yeah. Definitely. Couldn't agree more. Um. So I guess unless there's anything else that you have, that's sort of like the broad overview stuff. I guess like
Mm-hmm.
now we can talk about like are there any like specific scenes or specific like detail? Because there's a few like obviously that we can talk about, but is there anything that jumps out to you in terms of like specifics rather than just like broad overview, like how excellent this movie is? Because obviously it is.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think of like specific scenes I really like. I mean, the downtime in the boat, or just
Yeah.
basically that like back half or back third of the movie, with the three of those guys on the boat is just flawless. It is honestly is one of those things where it, in actual reality this makes no sense.
Of
But I would
course. Yeah.
honestly almost want an entire movie dedicated to those three guys just talking on a
Yeah.
boat. It's
Yeah.
like what's that fucking film like My Dinner with
Oh, my dinner with Andre. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
like that. I almost want
yeah.
that, but like just those three guys on the boat because the way they bounce off each other and they've perfectly made their characters so they just like they complement but contradict each other perfectly. You've got these two kind of weird extremes in like Quint is like this like almost like stereotypical like grizzled boatman fisherman character who's just like he's been in this for so long, he's got like a million different scars, and he's got this like very specific way of doing everything, even if it's very old fashioned.
Yep.
But there's this obvious knowing that like he has a lot of knowledge and understanding about hunting this shark or hunting sharks that you just like you have to you're just endeared by his knowledge. And then you've also got Hooper, who's like this marine biologist, who again is this nutty and weird guy. And he's like meant to be this like quite rich, like from money. So you think, oh, he doesn't like he knows a lot of stuff, but he's not very practical.
Right.
And yet he shows both. He like there's scenes where he is quite impractical and very like, he's got all this technology that he wants to put
He's
on the
got that
boat.
big boat, yeah, with the
Yeah.
radar.
And then there's lots of bits, especially during the main action scenes, where he shows that he's very easy to handle his own, and
Mm.
he and throughout the film, because he probably gets like he's like the second like main guy in this movie because he gets plenty of screen time at the start where he, similar to Brody, also doesn't believe the local fishers and the mayor and thinks they've got it wrong, they're underestimating it. And then there's like the scene with the shark where they catch a shark and he's like, no, this cannot be right, despite all the celebrations. Again, you're just endeared to his knowledge and his understanding and his passion for sharks as well, that you want to see him and you want to hear him talk about these creatures. And despite those weird extremes of both those characters, you've then got Brody in the middle, who is the perfect straight man to these two,
Yeah.
like, weirdos, kind of.
And that's a lot of that is on. I mean, obviously the main three and just the acting in general is great, but the acting of the main three is excellent. And Roy Scheider plays that sort of character so well. He just nails that sort of stoic, reserved, character flawlessly. And the way that he portrays that, yeah, like you say, it just balances everything out superbly. I think, like, this is just one of those movies. Like, I wrote down in my notes that, like, this is the sort of movie that you watch and you immediately understand, like, 100 more Simpsons jokes. And, like, it's just, like, it's one of those movies that just, every second scene is just completely iconic. Like, if you're not familiar with the scene itself, you're familiar with something that's referenced it or sort of, like, alluded to it, because it is... Like, it's easy to watch a movie like this now and sort of, like, look at certain characters or choices and think it's a cliche. But, like, it's because it established cliches. Like, it's so... It's so iconic. There's really no other word for it. It's an iconic scene... An iconic film. I love scenes like the introduction of Quint at the town meeting where he scratches his, like, nails on the chalkboard and he's, like, sitting in the corner in his fucking fisherman get up and going, well, let me tell you a story. And it's so like charming and endearing. It's the sort of movie that ages even better with time rather than aging worse with time. I'm just gonna sort of like start throwing out random, like, creative details that I think were really cool and I really liked.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously you can't really talk about this movie or any of these movies without talking about the score. John Williams, I don't know, like, what he must have sold his soul to the devil, because he's like in terms of writing film scores, this guy is like beyond reproach. I think especially like the sort of brooding and like the main theme, obviously, and this is one of the most iconic of all time. It's perfect. But I really like just generally the more sort of like dark atmospheric stuff he does in this. From memory, there's a little bit more of the more sort of jaunty Star Wars stuff sprinkled throughout, which is never bad, but it's not always the most appropriate.
Yeah, I feel that does slightly make some bits a bit weird, but I feel like I can't really remember too many scenes where like it didn't fit to, as in
Yeah.
they play that stuff in the scenes that kind of slightly more fitted, as in it's not jarring, I feel like, or not too badly jarring.
No, absolutely not. I think that the effectiveness of the score at its best is far exceeding the sort of like personal gripes that maybe I have with it at its like more sort of tonally off. But yeah, you really can't you can't speak highly enough of and, like it's film scores are one of those things where it's like if even I'm noticing how good it is, then that's got to be saying something because I don't always necessarily pick up on details like that. But
Mm.
so when I do, um, it's a particularly good one. Um, I really love the mayor in this. I mean, obviously I hate
Yeah.
him, but like I love him. He's great. He's just, like shitty like anchor suit with all the
Hmm.
little. It's
Oh,
he's
it is perfectly played for the like specific role they envisioned.
yeah. What's his
Like,
name? Mayor Larry Vaughn. He sounds like a used car salesman, and he dresses like a used car salesman too. Um, you need that character in this story. It's so clever in terms of like understanding what the story needs in order to be more than what it could be at its worst, which is just a B grade schlock
well,
violence movie.
I mean, we have seen like everyone has at least seen some shitty shark movie that spawned
Yes,
off this
Sharknado, and
Sharknado, The Meg,
Jaws
or whatever
4, whatever. Yeah,
fucking, and all these other random shit ones that are usually like the titles are all like this fucking like clickbaity, or well, not clickbaity, but as in like bullshit
yeah,
designed to
clickbait.
like, I guess, yeah, like you got fucking like stupid ones like Jurassic Shark and
Yeah,
fucking,
well,
I don't know, shit like that. Yeah. Those, because those movies do play it by the numbers. They play it exactly as shark violence. Somebody comes on and kills the shark. End of
ladies,
movie.
ladies in bikinis getting eaten.
That's true as well. Actually, they do add that. That's their own addition. That's not really in. Well, I suppose it is, but not in
Well,
such a
yeah,
way.
but it's not gratuitous in this. It's just
No, no,
because
no,
they're
no.
at the
There's
beach.
Yeah. There's a woman in a bikini. Not. It's not a scene. All right. There's no.
There's no like transition scene where it like zooms in on or zooms out from a woman's butt in a bikini with like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like funky music playing. Anyways,
Yeah. It's just like
like it's the in between.
non-copyright
It's
jazz.
in between its movie too. Anyway,
Yes.
continue.
Um, yeah, it uses. I think the mayor is the perfect example of how it uses people's reactions as almost like in itself a main plot point
Yeah,
within the movie. It isn't just shark eats people and then these three guys go on a boat and destroy it, right?
yeah,
It is a large part of this film is how would the general populace, how would politics, how would like police officers, how would everybody, how would they react to a force like this? Because in a sense, this is almost like, I guess it's technically a monster movie, but like monster movies and I think disaster movies go hand in hand in the
yeah,
way they good ones will always like focus on how do the people react to such an event, because in the real world, um it is a big part of it. You've got the event and then you've got everybody's reaction to it, and sometimes those reactions cause like this event to go from something that could have been mild and easy to contain to something even bigger and worse. And that's exactly what happens in this movie. The this like complete, like you said, yeah, he is like a used car salesman. This like really scummy, like he's just interested in like the just like getting as much money and like keeping the
getting the
economy
tourism
alive.
afloat. Isn't it like
The
the Fourth
tourism
of July
afloat.
weekend? That's not
Yeah, and he's like
relevant at
he
all. Fucking
constantly talks
hell.
about like being like this being a hot destination compared to other towns. Like
Yeah.
he wants to beat out like the other seaside towns.
Hmm.
Um, and that in turn causes more deaths.
Yeah.
And just how he's like very clearly in that scene where he has him actually write like the check to Quint, where Brody forces him. He's like almost immediately like he's like a very spineless man. Evidently, he's like extremely easily manipulated and very easily just like told exactly what to do, and then he just signs the dotted line. Like you immediately like understand this character and how he operates, and it's so realistic to, what you see in many sides of politics is just this type of character. It exists everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The reactions are what, like the reactions and the shark isn't necessarily even what drives the conflict. It's just sort of like the
Mm,
inciting incident. It's what drives the conflict is people's reactions to it and how and navigating those reactions to it as like the sort of like voice of reason in this sort of like uh,
mm.
insane insane situation. Um, I'm getting sort of like down to like really small things that I like now, but I really like how in certain scenes it um, like lets takes where actors sort of flub their lines slightly go, and it just lends this really sort of naturalistic feel to it. It's so naturalistic all the way through, actually. Not just the acting, but just like the way it's presented, the way it allows certain things like that to go through. I think it's only really like I can only really remember a movie like Alien doing the same thing, and I've always liked that as a choice, just letting certain small hiccups in the delivery of lines go. It's a very small choice, but it's one that I've always really liked.
Actually, continue slightly on that. Actually, in a weird sense, I like this could be due to the age of the film, but like I said before, when I said I love the shooting of this film, it is shot like a lot of movies now. They constantly try and go for like a very like it's meant to be all very photogenic, and like everything is shot in a way that it looks like as perfect as possible. And I'm seeing even some people, like some films, I don't know how real this is, but like I see some films that are actually shot in a like they're blocked and shot in a way so they're perfect for a phone. Which is insane, but that's its own weird thing that I'm sure we'll get to eventually in this series. If I find a movie like that, but I heard that from people. But like I like how this is shot, especially the bit where he's where Brody's going to work, and he goes through the town, and there's all these people out, and he interacts with all like the kind of main guys, like the other police officers and the mayor, and like I think there's like some shopkeepers he talks to and whatever, like um and that whole bit where he goes in and then he talking to his other police like officers and he's like, go get me some signs and some like markers or whatever to go out to the beach, right? I love how that's shot and how like that is that you do follow him, and it's not like this pinpoint perfect thing. It's literally like you're just in this town or you're him just walking through it. It's or driving through it. It's not meant to be 100% perfect because nobody walks and drives at like
Yeah,
this perfect, you know, photogenic way. Everyone just they kind of move in their own way, and you move through this town like you would, like normally if you were there.
yeah, no, that's another great example of how it does it.
Mm.
This is a small thing I want to shout out. That's what I want to say. This is a small thing I want to shout out. But there is a scene in which Hooper references my hometown of Brisbane, or as he calls it, Brisbane.
Oh
Um,
yes,
did you pick up on that? I sure
I
did.
did. I do remember that actually. Yes, he was going to
Because he's like
go
on,
on a leaf.
I can't go to Brisbane, Australia. Um, uh, and another thing I want to shout out is the fact that the in the final scene they blow the shark up. They
It
fucking
is
blow it to
great.
smithereens.
It is a great action scene. That final one. Um, yeah, they don't hold any bars back on that shark. They just fully like it's completely destroyed. Um, and that's just like a perfect ending. Um, the again like the amount of like purposeful violence in this movie
Mm,
is it's beautiful. Like not to sound like a sadist or anything, but like it is like really well done.
it is.
Um,
And another example of that is, and this is like a scene that stuck in my mind, is like Quint's, spoiler alert, by the way, Quint's death is like horrific. Like I think that would be in my
Mm,
bottom five ways to go. I like just going in like legs first. It's just fucks with me. I hate.
yeah.
I really find that scene very, very, very uncomfortable, and it's obviously trying to do that. Um, and I do kind of like though that like at the end when Hooper comes up and asks about it, like they don't care all that much. They're just like, oh yeah, no, Quint, he didn't make it. He got fucking munched by the shark. Um,
Yeah, he gets completely like it's a horrific death, but in kind of an amazing way.
but I think just in general, and like this is also in regards to them blowing the shark up. I like at the end of the day, this movie is just like meant to like be fun and enjoyable. It
Mm-hmm.
like it does all of these things so well, and it's so weird because talking about like these things about like naturalistic dialogue and stuff and like the camera work today, you'd be talking about like art films, but this is just like a blockbuster movie in the 70s. This is not an art film.
Yeah.
This is not a film that's it's just really well made, written, directed, acted, presented in every respect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not trying to be anything particularly intellectual. It's just a really good movie that's meant to be fun. It's meant to make you it's meant to grab your attention, but it's also not meant to just be like junk food. You're meant to
Mm-hmm.
get something out of it. You're meant to like enjoy the characters, to think about maybe things that it's discussing through its plot lines. Um, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's just fun. They blow the shark up at the end, and like
Yeah.
even though like children die in this and people get mauled by a shark and all of this stuff happens, it never feels like it's never taking itself too seriously. It never feels like it never feels overly dour or miserable or like unpleasant, even in spite of certain particularly violent scenes. It's a good time, and at the end of the day, that is the number one thing it sets out to be, is a good time, and it hits the nail absolutely on the head, I think. Um, yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Like it is yeah, as much as we've talked about the characters and the writing and the shooting and the music and the score, I guess is the word.
yeah,
It is at the end of the day, as I said before, simplicity done extremely effectively.
hmm,
Like it's just fun and like again, there you are right. Like that death scene of Quint is pretty horrifying, but like I think it's horrifying in kind of the best kind of way, and like this. Stop me if this sounds a bit insane, but like it's it's in a lot of it's a perfect action movie death because it's one that you do kind of think like holy shit, that's terrifying, that's horrible, but in the same way you're like holy shit, that's fucking amazing.
it
Like it's
is.
just
Yeah,
such a
absolutely.
cool, such a sick death. Like
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. No, I
it's
agree completely.
this would have to be one of those deaths that really started that trend of people talking about what are the best, movie deaths, what is the
Yeah.
best action movie deaths and whatever. Because it is iconic in like for both being totally horrifying but totally amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another like even though it's an incredibly visceral scene, it's even once again, it's not even using the violence as the crutch. It's just a really well staged action scene and death scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fucking boat is being ripped in half and like, or it's it's thrilling even without the blood spurting everywhere and stuff. And I think that's just like, yeah. Um I don't know. There's so many universes and so many examples, like we've been saying, of a movie like this being absolutely abysmal and one note and flat. But this absolutely isn't. It's a total classic, and I think that you are not in any way um, wrong to call it a masterpiece. I mean, honestly, unless you have anything else to talk about, I think I'm happy to move into ratings on this one.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Should I go first?
Go on.
I mean, yeah, no, I really can't think of anything that I don't like about this movie. Um, I sort of joked in my letterbox review that I was docking it a point for having Richard Dreyfuss call it Brisbane rather than Brisbane, and obviously that was a joke. But yeah, no, this is for me. It's a 9 out of 10. It could easily go up to a 10 out of 10 in the future, but it's just one of those things. I don't know. Maybe you have this as well, where you watch it and you go, "Yeah, I love that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but I'm just not feeling a 10." Um, uh,
Mm.
like I think I really I couldn't nitpick. I mean, maybe I could nitpick a couple of things. Like I do remember certain smaller roles, the acting isn't like incredible, or like we were
Mm.
saying about the John Williams score before. Sometimes it's not the most appropriate in certain scenes, but that's total nitpicking. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think, yeah, maybe not quite feeling a 10, but a 9 it is, and a high 9 at that. What about you?
Mm. I think um I was trying to think of like, is there any way I can like where this is one of those movies where I'm trying to, it's less, I'm not looking to give it marks, I'm looking to dock marks, which I mean that in a good kind of way. I'm trying to lower my score down. I have found the only thing I can really think of to give it, and it's not actually, this is one of those like backhanded remarks, because this movie is so iconic and so great. It has sadly spawned every cockroach and rat has come out of the woodwork to make awful, shitty shark movies that are entirely for the violence, as we've talked about. But that's not the movie's fault for being so good. It's just, it's the way the cookie crumbles. So I think because of that, because there's nothing I can find really to fault, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I think
Yep,
it is
that's
pretty much flawless, really.
that's your only your third ever 10 out of 10 on this series, I
Hmm.
believe.
I've
Um,
tried to be conservative with them, but I think this one is
it's
deserved.
it's an elite group of Jaws, Goodfellas, and Wallace and Gromit. What Vengeance Most Foul?
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, now we move into the second movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. The immediate follow-up, actually, to Jaws, and a
Mm.
movie that I mean, this is still an extremely iconic movie, and at the time was an extremely successful movie, but probably of the three is the most niche nowadays, I guess. Um, if you had to pick one, we're talking about some of the most iconic and famous movies of all time here. But if you had to pick one, probably less people have watched Close Encounters than E.T. or Jaws.
True,
Um,
true.
um, but with that being said, there's a reason that I picked this movie, and that's because this is a movie that I absolutely adore. It's long been a favorite of mine, and I can sort of talk about that for ages. But I wanna know your sort of impressions of Close Encounters, because it's a movie that um, I think there's a lot to talk about. So, what do you think of Close
Mm.
Encounters overall?
I think overall this is a really good movie and really quite a cool movie in a lot of the things it tries to do,
Mm,
and a lot of the set pieces and the ideas it brings. Because I mean, I'm not a great like sci-fi or alien buff, but I feel
no,
like a lot of the ideas I see played in this movie feel like the first time we've seen a lot of these concepts and ideas that would later become either quite commonplace or just like used again and again down the track. Um, it's a weird one to talk about for me because I have a lot of like mixed feelings about this movie because of a lot of the kind of concepts and ideas and weird things that they attempt and do in this movie.
yeah,
Um,
it's a very
yeah,
ambitious movie.
it is an extremely ambitious movie. I think they hit it on the nail like majority of the time, but I feel like there's some parts of this movie that I felt weren't bad, but I feel like they missed the mark on them, or
I
they didn't
think
execute them as well as I feel like they could have maybe.
think it's a flawed movie. I think there's no question about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a flawed movie. I don't think it's like immensely flawed or anything. I don't
Oh
love
no
it.
no no God no.
I don't love it in spite of it being, you know, terribly flawed. I think that on its own merits and just on based on how good I think it is, I think I just like it like that. But I am very much aware, particularly on recent rewatches. I actually ended up watching this one twice. I watched it once by myself and then once with my parents because it's a favorite of my dad's as well. And I think of my brothers actually. Um, and yeah, no, it's definitely got issues, and we'll talk about those. But I think what I adore about it so much, outside of just lots of things that it does great on a sort of like smallest level, is just a certain approach that Spielberg takes to this type of story, to this idea of alien life and of sci-fi that we'll obviously be talking about with ET as well, where
Mm.
it's such a much more appealing discussion and look at aliens and of the potential for other life in the universe, as opposed to like a movie where, you know, the aliens come to Earth and then the US military starts fucking like machine gunning them, and like, you know, there's
Compared
like
to like Mars
like
attacks or yeah.
compares to like War of the Worlds, which I guess he did adapt.
Mm-hmm.
But where Spielberg's approach in this, and particularly in this movie, which is what I love so much about it, is looking at it in this sort of like idealistic world where it's like, what if humanity was able to come together in this combined effort and look at this as an opportunity for education and for understanding and for reaching out and learning something, rather than as a potential threat, as a perceived threat, or as a sort of opportunity for you know, expansionism, or for like, you know, whatever selfish or cynical motivations. And I don't think it's a terribly realistic portrayal of what would happen in this situation,
True.
but it is so appealing to me, and to just watch it makes me feel immensely like happy and I just yeah, no, I in terms of just its overall tone and how it deals with the idea of alien life, it's to me the quintessential alien movie, and to me the ideal one. Yeah, it's obviously a movie that has quite a sort of sprawling plot. It has a lot of like different character arcs going on, but the main one is sort of like Richard Dreyfuss appearing again as Roy Neary, who experiences sort of like he experiences a close encounter, is what he experiences. And then also another woman, what's her name? Ronnie. Oh no, sorry, that's his wife. My bad. Give me a minute here. Um, where is she? It doesn't matter. Fucking, I'll find it later. Anyway, another woman and her child experience a close encounter as well, and that's one sort of thing going on, is them trying to like come to terms with what they've seen and how it's impacting their lives. And then also you've got this French actor whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce, as a sort of like French government scientist who is trying to lead the initiative of how they're gonna deal with this. And how like the world is going to deal with it. I don't know. Are they explicitly stated to be like UN or NATO, or are they just
I
anonymous
think I
science?
don't know. No, I think it's just like I think the idea is it's like a French-US joint
Fair enough.
thing, and it's probably no. Actually, maybe there is UN stuff in it. I don't really.
Maybe there is UN
It
stuff in
doesn't. I
there.
feel like it doesn't really matter. That's not the
It
point of
doesn't
it.
really. No, it's absolutely not the point of it. Because like I said, this is not a realistic portrayal of what would happen in any world that is even close to our own. But that's kind of
Hmm.
what I love about it, is how it's able to be idealistic. It's able to be optimistic about what we could do at our best, especially if we let the Europeans handle it rather than the US. And I think a lot of that comes from, and this is part of what's so interesting about this movie compared to ET, the difference that those 5 years made in US history, where this was made during the Carter administration and ET was made during the Reagan administration. Um, I think the sort of general feelings of détente in the late 70s were maybe able to take a little bit of stress off of. I mean,
True.
you know, this is also the same year that James Bond did a movie where he teams up with a Russian agent. I guarantee you they wouldn't have been doing that in 1982. But
Nah.
but yeah, no, I think that before we get into like the specifics, that sort of like worldview and not even necessarily worldview, because it's not, like I said, I don't believe that Spielberg is trying to be realistic in his portrayal. Just
Mm.
that philosophy of how to approach a story like this is what, on a broad level, is so appealing to me about this movie.
Yeah, I think it does, like, you're right. It it is like, aside from the aliens, there is an element of fantastical in the way a lot of the people act in this
Yes.
film that I'm sure people could criticize for being unrealistic. But I think if it's Jaws that is so great because of how realistic it is, I do think this film is so great because of, in a sense, how unrealistic it is, or
Mm.
like how how much it explores a world outside of our own, which
Mm.
obviously makes a lot of sense for a sci-fi film. It does explore ideas and concepts that are like wholly unheard of, and very new and very quite strange. And I think I especially really like how they um, throughout this film depict how aliens would affect people and how they would also communicate. And those are two kind of
Yeah.
different plot lines. You've got this kind of team of like French and American scientists who are trying to like decipher and kind of work out how they can contact these aliens, talk to them, like how can we communicate with them, what's the method they use, right? And the other plot line, which um is it Roy? Roy's the main. Is that the
Yeah.
main?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Roy and the other lady that I can't remember who she was.
And her name. Give
And
me a minute.
there's even a guy at the final bit of it, and there's like a few other people like that are kind of no-named characters that are just there. Like how aliens and alien technology affects a human being. Like it's almost like similar to like, or looked at in a similar way to like, and I guess this is because it's a film from the 70s. It's like how like the effects of human, like of stuff like, I don't know, like radiation, or
Yep.
other like chemicals or substances or elements that we like didn't really know a lot about in the 70s. How would they affect a human being? Like it doesn't really go into say a physical side, but like a mental is the main aspect. How does that mentally like affect a human? And then applying that same concepts and ideas in the 70s to alien technology, like what could it do to a human being? Like if they can fly through space and like, and travel the universe, like how does their technology change us? And that's what we see where these people kind of go a little bit like insane. Especially Roy, he goes like completely insane in the mid part of this film, due to these UFOs, and he keeps like seeing the mountain, and he keeps seeing the UFOs. And then there's the bit at the start where like he just like has like half his face gets like a whole like sunburn from this like alien like beam. So it's really cool how it looks at just at what how would all this actually work in, how would a lot of these ideas work rather than a Mars attacks where it's just like, so what kind of guns they got, how
Right.
they blow
Exactly.
people up, what's their method of killing?
Or rather, what's our method of killing them?
Oh, that's also
Yeah.
true. Yeah. How do
Yeah.
you
It's
the question isn't how do you defeat aliens in this movie? The question is how do you communicate with aliens, and what are the side effects of
yep.
aliens arriving at Earth? What could they do that maybe isn't like they're not harming us, but they could have knock-on effects that in some way affects a person.
Yeah.
I.e., Roy, he just goes like completely
Yeah.
nuts.
He goes completely bat s. Um, I think also that like another major like theme or idea in this movie, and it's one that obviously they explore even, or he explores in even more depth in ET, is just like childhood, and not even necessarily childhood in a literal sense, but more just in the idea of like um like capturing that idea of childhood where you still have this idea of wonder and amazement and of natural curiosity and of how that you can lose that as you become older and more cynical. And I mean, obviously they explore that through the child character of Barry. And by the way, Barry is the child of Gillian or Jill. I
See
figured
it.
that
Yeah.
out.
Hold
um Figured it out. Just had to read the Wikipedia. We do our research here on mildly
Mm.
amusing. um but yeah, I think that it explores that just the idea of like, yeah, of like it sounds cliche and silly, but it's very effective of like keeping an open mind, of not closing your mind off to new ideas, of just trying to maintain a little of that childish sense of whimsy and of wonder.
Mm.
And I think, not to sort of like jump around the place here, but I think that that's something that is done really effectively through how it's presented as well. I think this is a gorgeous movie. I think it's
Oh
like
yeah.
incredible to look at. I specifically went out of my way to try and source like a 4K version of it, which I don't usually do because it doesn't typically bother me. I'm not like much of a like a cinephile or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
but like I don't regret it at all because it's just like it's actually very interesting how like both this movie and Jaws, obviously each individually shot extremely well and presented very well, but in quite different ways. Where Jaws is very grounded and very sort of like clever in how it presents the action, whereas this movie is very, it's just gorgeous and it has a real scale to it. There's lots of like very big wide shots that sort of just like make you go, oh my god, that's gorgeous. Like, those
Mm.
establishing shots of the house where Jill and Barry live in this sort of like wide middle America with the massive night sky above them, and obviously the stuff with the spaceships, is amazing. The practical effects are spot on, like they need to be in a movie like this. Like I really can't believe how good the spaceships in this look. The way
Oh
they
yeah.
sort of like radiate light, and it's another example, of course, of like, I mean, those would all have been models and stuff, which with like vague use of digital effects. Um, they look incredible, and they're just you know so so effective and so I don't know. I just I'm having to stop myself from just sort of like sliding into gushing here, but
Yeah, I mean the UFOs and that just chef's kiss.
mhm.
They are. Um, like the model of itself is amazing, but I think the lighting they use, the way they use
Yeah,
light
yes, yeah,
in such a
absolutely.
fun and creative way, throughout this movie, constantly through the scenes, they are always looking to see like how do we use light effectively here, like the nighttime shots with all the UFOs flying past. They use like constant. There's that vivid, like they use like blues and greens and reds. They constantly just like blaring out. And obviously that scene at the end, the famous one where the spaceship like lands down and opens up, and the beams of white light, which they use throughout the movie, actually constantly use it. Roy gets like hit by it when he's in his truck. There's the one where like Barry gets like I guess he's like he leaves his house and he's like taken up by the aliens, where how like there's just like white light shooting through their house.
Mm,
um it's quite amazing just how much like how specific they are with using light to really like make key moments in the movie just pop. Like it's happens all the time, and it's brilliant.
yeah, no, it's absolutely. I agree. The usage of light is excelente. What was the other thing I was gonna say? There was like one more, like, oh yeah, no, there's just sort of like one more, like, I guess, overarching theme or idea that I want to talk about before I guess we move into more specific like scenes and stuff. But um, I really like, as if this film's like treatment of the idea of alien life and communication with life forms that are different to us wasn't effective enough for me. What do they use as the method of communication with them? Music. I think that is a stroke of genius to use
Hmm. Hmm.
music as the universal language. Um, I think like that is such a compelling and wonderful idea. and I just love it. I love that scene. Well, not to like start jumping into scenes here, but I love that scene where they arrive at the place in like it's like a what do you call those places in India? You know, where they've all of the
Oh yeah,
oh god, I
same
don't want
thing that
to.
George Harris went on.
Yeah. All of the people are like chanting in unison, chanting
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
same little like motif that they can't get out of their heads. And then you get that great shot where they're like, "Where did the noise come from?" And they all point to the sky. Um, yeah, no, I think that is such a great idea as well, and that just feeds into how much I appreciate the themes and the yeah just the way that this movie deals with what it deals with is what is more than anything else what is so wonderful to me.
Hmm.
But unless there's any sort of like big things that you want to talk about, I guess we can start talking about like just start throwing out scenes and stuff that we like now.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Um, I really like, for example, starting off early in the film, I really like all of the scenes that you get sort of throughout the early stages of the movie where they start discovering these inexplicable things that sort of like obviously it's the
Mm.
first scene of the movie is you get like those lost World War II planes that just appear in the desert for no reason, and they're like, how did these get here? Um, and then again, you get those later where you get the chanting people in India. You get like the massive ship in the middle of the desert. Um, are there any other ones that I'm forgetting? Can't remember.
Oh,
Um, oh,
yes, yeah, massive shit.
you also get like the radar activity at like the military base. I think that's sort
Mm.
of like the second scene. Just I don't know. I just especially that first scene. It immediately hooks me. It's such a great. Um, it's actually really like yeah. It's such an interesting turn from Jaws, which is so grounded, into a movie like this, which has such scale to it and such sort of like ambition in terms of like, um, yeah, like having these sort of like wide historical like things of like, oh my god, these things are happening all over the world, and they're referencing like um potentially fictional. I never really looked into it, like missing plane squadrons in history or missing boats or whatever.
Mm.
I think that's really cool, and I think it's an immediately sort of compelling hook, and it leaves you it like leaves you wanting to know more about the aliens, because you're like, well, what did they do to these people? It doesn't necessarily put you in an antagonistic position, but it does do a good job of like not robbing any of the tension away immediately. Like they don't have the cute little baby aliens in the first scene, like being all cute and whatever, and
Mm. Mm.
just being like, oh, okay, they're no threat. Then I guess there's no reason to watch the movie. It does a good job of like allowing that tension to still be there, even in a movie that's ultimately quite uh, optimistic, quite peaceful. Um, and yeah, I really like those scenes.
Mm.
Harry?
Mm. Something of like
By the
I
way, you're
really
welcome to
like.
oh sorry, I was
Mm.
just gonna say you're also welcome to talk about some of the things that you find a bit flawed or what have you, but yeah.
Mm. Mm. Well, I'll stick with the same thing for now because um continuity.
Yes.
Um, I do really like the starting bit with Roy and his family and just kind of
Yes.
exploring that world, especially before it kind of all goes to like complete madness.
Mm.
Eventually. Um, it's very like I guess it is that kind of 70s thing where it's a very fun and endearing family, if not a
Mm.
flawed family.
Yes.
Um, like there's obviously a lot of like tension and like issues within the household, but in that same sense they're all like it's all kind of really fun and like it's almost like that kind of harkens back to an old era of that it's almost like that 60s and 50s like quick talky you know dialogue where everyone's got a response in a slightly like it's fun and lighthearted whilst also having a lot of undertones of like the issues within the household,
Yes.
um, which I really do find really fun. And you see like the kind of Star Roy's character, and how you see how this man could be affected um
Mm.
by a lot of this stuff where he's already quite like he's like quite scatterbrained and very like
Yes.
focuses on one thing very much and then like will ignore like five other different things and will
Yeah.
just focus on one thing. Um and he's like the bit where he's very passionate about, is it Pinocchio or whatever, or
Yeah.
yeah, like he's very passionate about a film he saw when he was his kid's age and like
Right.
trying to convince them to like, you need to go see this. The other one's like totally boring and who cares.
Yeah.
Sets up the later moment, which is quite amazing, where he just devolves into the full madness.
When he starts
Um,
pouring the shit through the kitchen window and stuff.
it is hilarious, that scene, in the
Yeah.
best kind of way, where he just like he rips up random shit to just like and just throws it
The,
through his window.
starts picking up like the chicken wire fence and all the ducks
Hmm.
escape. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, and
that, and
just
that's
his
yeah,
wife is completely like understandably completely horrified, like how
yeah.
insane he is.
I like that it's not like, it's very much not a one note treatment of that situation at all,
Mm-mm.
where it's like, from the first scene, like the way that he's like trying to help, quote unquote, his son with his fractions homework, it's completely hopeless. Like he's
Mm.
not he's not portrayed in any way as a perfect, protagonist character at
Mm.
all. Um, he's a deeply like flawed character, who you can immediately tell has the potential, like you said, to be sort of like enraptured by this like experience that he has. Um, and yeah, the movie doesn't shy away from like the negative effects that can have, where he does eventually and quite rapidly actually isolate his entire family. And there are scenes where you take his side and you're like, why can't his wife and his family be the ones of anybody to like actually listen to him and believe him a little bit, and not like just
Mm.
take the side of like, well, what will the neighbors think, what will the fucking people we're having over for our dinner party think? And then the next scene he's like pouring dirt through their kitchen window, and stealing from his neighbor, his elderly neighbor, and you go, okay, well, maybe the wife has a point. It's not one or the other, it's both. And I think that it does a really good job of that. And it also, like you said, it does that first scene with the family, like it's so natural. Like just the kid in the background in his little cot just smashing his toy up is like, it's I don't like, it maybe like 70s movies were a little bit more lax in how they were able to treat children on set. But you can't deny the effects are an incredibly naturalistic
Mm.
scene portrayal of a family scene. I wouldn't doubt for a moment, unless other than the fact that I recognize Richard Dreyfuss's face, that this is a real family.
Yeah, it is like beautifully done by um all the actors. Um, I do especially love I don't know who it is, the lady who plays his wife.
Hmm.
What's her name? Is her name?
Terry Gar.
Yeah, I think her like all her reactions to, and especially in that scene where he's like completely like destroying the house in the neighborhood, like it does ebb and flow with her reaction. Like you see a lot of stuff where she is like, you think she's kind like she's in the wrong in bits where you're like, you should be more. You think like you need to be like should be like more supportive and like
Right.
help him in a sense. And then there are like easy bits where her reactions are 100% real and amazing, and like ways you yourself would react at seeing somebody do this. Like is like the complete madness of him ripping up like the
Mm.
garden and just throwing it into the house is just hilarious how she reacts to it. And like in like a very real and interesting way. Um, and like speaking on that same scene, like if like you have the bit where he's like completely gone insane, and that's hilarious in its own right. And then I love the next couple of scenes where he the building where he builds this giant model of the mountain, right? And I love how that's also juxtaposed,
Juxtaposed.
that's the word. With the other lady, what's her
Mm.
name? Like Gillian, that's it.
Jillian, yeah.
Yeah, Julian, and her like like it's like this quite brief moment where she's like painted like 5 versions of the same mountain. Um, so like it equally shows two different forms of this kind of like mad obsession that's like been, I guess in a sense, imposed on them, or like they've gained this mad obsession with like going to the location where they know the aliens are going to be. Or well, I guess they don't like know that now. They have this kind of keep envisioning this mountain, and the two different ways of recreating it and like like understanding conceptualizing it as a person, because like creating a model or painting is like two different but very similar ways of rationalizing a reality like in a physical form.
Mm.
And I love how they're able to um have two different characters have the exact same um idea or thought or feeling, but express it in two different complete ways,
Yeah.
just as two different people would express the same thought.
Yeah, and it feels quite natural to both of their characters as well.
Mm.
It's yeah, just like I was gonna start like naming a couple things here, but obviously like those early scenes, both Roy's first encounter with the aliens, and then also Barry's when like all the like toys start buzzing and whirling in the house and
Oh
stuff.
yes.
And then obviously Roy's where he's like at the like what do you call it, like the train crossing,
Mm.
and like the lights come up behind him and he thinks it's a car and it just starts rising up. It's that scene in particular is extremely well executed.
Mm.
Just like having all of these cool creative ideas of like what could happen in the car with like the all of the dials going wild, and like I forget even what happens with a lot of stuff. Just shit flying everywhere, and then it all goes dead, and then his flashlight comes back on, and he becomes like genuinely startled by it. Um, that's a very, very, very cool scene, and also so is Barry's and him just like running out into the wilderness. Although I will say, up until a later scene, or as in like the later scene where he gets sort of like taken away by the aliens, which is another excellent scene that we can talk about. Um, his mother doesn't seem to like be terribly concerned, like maybe she's like what got that what do you call that when you get high one time and then you're high for life. She's got that kind of feel to her of like a burned out hippie, but um
True.
um maybe she's got long COVID or
Mm.
something. I don't know. She's got a brain fog. She never seems to be like, her child almost gets hit by a car, and yeah, she's a little shaken, but she's not like crazily shaken.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
um, but that's a really cool scene too. Um,
I guess like over the course of this movie, there's this kind of general idea or feel that like um the aliens um I mean there's these only really these two characters, the ones that actually have any proper like development. There's a third guy that like follows them with them up the mountain, but like he basically is only introduced there and does
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
It probably could have been cut, I'll be honest with you. But these main two, like they're already quite like strange and unique people. So I guess there's, or at least that's how I saw it, is that this idea that the extraterrestrials they speak to, or they kind of a way to connect with people who are already quite like in a sense estranged from their reality, or like already are kind of a bit weird,
Yeah,
which has already kind of always been a bit of a theme with extraterrestrials. That like, the reason why the general public doesn't see them is because they don't like interacting with, the general public, and they just go for these strange weirdos, and kind of this whole concept of weirdos and aliens being or people who are like outside the bounds of normal society interact with aliens has always been like a kind of a general thing. But
yeah,
I think the way they explore it in such a way of two people who like are endearing and interesting, but are also very deeply and obviously flawed in the way they go about their like day-to-day life,
Hmm.
I find quite cool. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. God, I mean, I could honestly just like start talking about like many other scenes, but like I am actually like curious in terms of like some of your more mixed feelings. Like in
mm, mm.
particular, what stands out to you in terms of like stuff that you think isn't the most effective about this movie?
I think there is, like I said, there's a lot of, as I've been exploring, saying, there's a lot of high concepts and ideas, especially about communication and two groups who cannot like speak the same language, communicating and how that functions, and then also exploring the ideas of how aliens could affect like humans and how they affect these people who are, you know, artists or strange from society
Yeah.
or slightly weird. I think because it tries all these different things, and there's a lot of movies who would do a lot worse with these ideas, but I feel like they almost could split this movie into two movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it tries a lot, and I feel as if it doesn't give everything enough time to fully breathe and understand.
Yeah.
Um, I think between its two plots, for me, I find it jumps too much.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like where in another movie you would have a main plot and the other one be, say, a break from the main plot or a way to analyze the main plot or a just a breath of fresh air where you would normally get too tired of single character or single plot, right? I feel like this one, I sometimes feel like the two plots are in a sense competing with each other. Um, and neither is fully given, I think, the room and breadth to fully realize itself. I think they, for me, I almost feel like they could have and should have gone more deeper with the concepts
Yeah.
they already laid out, which is a bit of a backhanded compliment to say, you know, you did really well. I just wish you had more of the same thing you did.
Yeah.
Is a bit of a funny way of saying it, but that's why I think is sometimes this movie doesn't have enough room to breathe. Um, and there's just so much going on that it almost, yeah, it feels a bit cramped at times.
No, I absolutely can see that, and I think, um, I don't know, I like for whatever reason personally for me, it's never been something that's really bugged me about it, but it's something that I can
Mm,
definitely see in this movie, is that, yeah, it almost feels like you were saying, like, normally you would have like a main plot and then or like a side plot, and like the side plot is not necessarily given equal weight or equal importance. But in this movie, there really is kind of two stories of equal importance going on, and they're both compelling and they're both interesting and they're both important to the wider story. But you do sometimes get a sort of jarring effect when jumping between them, because it's not as though either one of them is giving you a moment to breathe, but either one of them is equally at an important point in that story. And so I do think that the pacing of this movie is, it's not perfect, but at the same time, in terms of like what the movie's trying to do, I'm not entirely sure how you would do it otherwise other than yeah, making two movies. Um, I think. Uh, I think it's completely valid, like criticism, though. But for whatever reason, it's never been something that's bugged me, even though I can definitely see it. Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely valid. What else, though? What else is there to talk about? Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good scenes in there. I like just as a like throwaway scene. I like the scene where he takes his family back to the spot, and like he thinks they're coming again, but it turns out to just be like army helicopters, and then the guys around him are just like what are they, like anti-government, like hippie protesters or whatever. um
hmm
Obviously the scene with him building the mountain in the mashed potato is pretty iconic, and pretty like
mm
silly, but also like very effective. And like
yeah.
the way his family is looking at him in that scene, like, it's great. um yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sort of like looking at my notes now, and really the only notes I have now are sort of like for the final sequence, which the final sequence is, or like the final act, I suppose, sort of like from when his family leaves up until the end of the movie is kind of like, there's a very large chunk at the end there that's it's almost its own entire thing.
Yeah.
But I think that the final part of this movie is really really cool, and it is where those sort of two plots finally intersect, and they feel a little bit less jarring.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I do really like the sequence where they're like all talking about how they're gonna how they're gonna decide like what scare they're gonna use to make people leave the state so that they can go to this place and meet the aliens. Um, like they go with what do they go with, like some sort of like toxic spillage or
Yeah, something like that. And it's like they talk about like a disease thing, and then the army guys like there'll always be one person who thinks they're invincible or
Right.
whatever,
It's
which
just
is
another incredible
hilariously,
it's like
yeah,
Spielberg's foresaw COVID. I
yeah,
wrote down in my notes I wrote down in my notes, if they tried to clear Wyoming today, all the Trump supporters would be calling it a Democrat conspiracy. And then I said maybe they're not always wrong. um uh but then yeah, basically the final scene from that point onwards is just they go to the mountain. They sort of like get captured for a little bit, but not really in any sort of serious capacity. Um, they meet up with that guy who is kind of a throwaway character, but like whatever. Um,
yeah.
they get 5 stars in GDA. They have the army helicopters come after them.
Hmm.
Um, they just sort of try and put them to sleep though, and I feel like if this was set in Reagan's America, they just try gunning the bastards down, but
Yeah.
they
It'd
just
be like a
like
Rambo kind of scene where they just all just get like,
we should
minced.
there should be a Rambo movie where Rambo's job is to kill unarmed people trying to see alien light. They just let him loose on the mountain. And then yeah, basically the final sequence, which I actually have very 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 few notes for the final sequence because
Mm,
I was just sort of like enjoying it and watching it. It's quite a long sequence, but it's never
yeah.
to me boring. In fact, it's like totally beautiful. I don't like know how they
Mm,
even like assembled a set that looks like that with this massive sort of like platform. In I mean, I imagine they did it on like a stone. Actually, no, I do know how they did that because I watched a documentary about it, and they did it in like a massive warehouse that they had to find the biggest warehouse available, and like the storms like blew it open. Anyway, whatever. Point being, that final sequence is pretty incredible, isn't it?
it is uh nothing short of high art. Like it is the the sound design and the shooting of that is flawlessly amazing. I mean, the bit where the guy's playing on like the
Oh
playing
yeah,
back
I
to the
love that.
aliens has been it's amazing. And obviously it's like iconic as being like parodied all the way through and like referenced and whatnot in many different pieces of media. Um, it's great how they large parts of it um they just let the sound, the music do the acting.
Yeah.
There's lots of space to
Mm.
just like let the scene breathe. Lots of key use of like no sound at all, everything being quiet and just being reaction shots, and then back to the aliens and
Mm.
the scientists playing back to each other, which is kind of just it's amazing. It's very like you said, it's that kind of it's very sweet idealistic idea of how an interaction would work between aliens and people. Um, and yeah, you just had these like wide shots of the crowd, wide shots of the spaceship and the
Mm.
surrounding like mountains, and just the light and the music going back and forth
Yeah.
until that final moment where
The
the
mothership.
doors open. And that first initial bit is amazing, where just the flash of light for a while,
Mm.
and you just have everyone like reacting to just that beam of white light before the amazing reveal of all these people walking through. It's just the
Yes.
final moment. all these people that have been like, I guess, like I don't want to say they've been like they're not being taken or captured by the aliens because that makes it sound like it's like a bad thing happened. I guess it is kind of a bad thing. I mean, they did get taken and kidnapped in a sense, but it's not a
Yeah.
bad kidnapping. You know what I mean?
The
It's
aliens
a
didn't do anything to them, like
yeah,
anything harmful to them on purpose. You know, there are some
yeah.
bad
It's all like
implications. Like, you know, they all
accidents.
probably come back and their wives are dead now and whatever. But you know, the aliens didn't know that.
Yeah, I wouldn't apply that level of like logic and scrutiny to these aliens. Um, but just like all them coming through and like the dazed look, and then the bit where they like have what is it? It's like a like the scientists and the kind of like army
Mm,
officers are like you know shaking their hands and like they're
mm,
saying their name and they're crossing them off a board.
yeah,
Like it's all very cool. And then obviously the bit where like Barry comes back and he runs to his mother, like
it's a
that's
very good emotional
amazing.
payoff. Yeah.
And this is all this is like this specific bit as well is swinging between like the reaction shots
Mm.
um of now I've
French
forgotten the
guy.
exact name. And or the French guy as well as is Roy as well. I more meant Roy, but also the French guy. Yes, he does have some great reaction and shots, but just the shots of Roy just like looking on. He's not even saying anything. He's not even got like I say a reaction, but he's not actually really making a reaction. He's just kind of like standing there and
Yeah,
watching it like
yeah.
stunned awe and just like this total fascination that he's had that's kind of drove him to like kind of madness in this
Mm.
throughout this film. He is seeing in the flesh and in the real. It's like something he's been questioned about and he's known about and he keeps trying to fight for the answer to this has finally been realized in front of him, and it is pretty beautiful just the way he's given kind of catharsis through that.
Yeah, it's such a great final sequence because firstly it keeps like elevating itself. Like there's like four or five different like moments of yes and of
Mm,
you get the initial like fly through of all the ships and then you get like the contact with the ships and like the music sequence and then you get like the people coming off the ships and then you get to see the aliens a bit later um and then you get like the very, very, very final bit, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's also um, like it's such a good payoff, not just because of like how it ties things together so well and it gives these characters the payoffs that they deserve, but it also it trusts itself and what it's showing you so well that it doesn't feel like it needs to go overboard with dialogue or anything to emphasize what it's doing, and it's also doing something like it does what it does so well is it sells to you that this is the gravity of like what's actually unfolding. Like it actually makes you feel like the importance of like what is happening to humanity in this scene. Like this is first contact with alien life, and it really does feel like that. If like everybody in the scene, just the way that the set is presented and the extras are presented and all the actors are uh, reacting, I suppose, is so perfect in how it makes you believe the importance of what they're seeing and what it means to them, which I think is excellent.
mm.
Um, and then yeah, then the aliens come out. Oh, uh,
Amazing models or whatever they use to
yeah,
make them.
there's like a little gangly one. Well, no, sorry, not a gangly one. There's a massive sort of like Slenderman one, which is kind of
Mm.
creepy, and it sort of like does this like arm thing. It's very majestic, but it's also kind of creepy. But then you get like all the like the little ones, and they're pretty cute. Those
They are
things,
adorable. Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty cute. And then I guess like the very very final bit of the movie is that Roy goes off, doesn't he?
It
You
goes
know?
with the aliens, yeah.
He goes with the aliens. Do they personally select him, don't they? They like come up to him and they like, you know, they like grab onto him and they're like, we're choosing this one. Um,
Yeah.
we're choosing Richard Dreyfuss. Um, little did they know that he's just going to spend the entire time talking to them about woke cancel culture, but you know, they'll return him within 5 minutes. Um, um, Yeah, sorry, I just noticed that I wrote down in my notes. I wrote down
Just
in my notes, Larry, which is the name of the third guy that like gets left behind on the mountain. Larry just doesn't have that dog in him. uh,
I mean, I
I
can't
mean,
say you're wrong. It is true. Um, does jack shit now.
anyway, but yeah, no, and also just like the scale of the practical effects and of the ships and everything, like the size of this ship in comparison to the
Mm.
into the mountain, and also John Williams again being like a genius, and like his scoring in this is phenomenal, and like just the sound design in general, everything's pretty amazing. I could gush for ages. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this movie in general?
Yeah, actually, speaking of that ship, right? Do you know what I love, right? Because after seeing that design, I did legitimately like, go and look at some of the modeling for the ship, right?
Mm,
I love the design of that ship. It is,
it's amazing, yeah.
you know what I like? It's not. This is how much I think why I do really love this film. Despite my gripes with it, I do love um the amount of like really how they I feel like they took the idea and concepts of aliens, right, of extraterrestrials, UFOs in the 70s, right, and they thought really deeply about it. It
Yeah,
wasn't just a
absolutely.
marketing gimmick. It wasn't just some space race poster. It wasn't just whatever. They really took the ideas and critically analyzed them and really thought about it in a way that I don't think had been really thought about at the time. Because you look at the UFO, it's not some dumb flying saucer. It's not just
No.
a redesigned version of a US rocket, right? It's a living city that's moving. It's
Yep.
the you feel that's the idea. What if there was a creature, a species, a race, whatever, right, who had the ability to travel through space, right, at like uncalculable speeds to just rock up to any planet they wanted to realistically, right, and had all this technology, right? Why the fuck would they live on just a planet, right? Of course, why wouldn't you just make your spaceship a living city? And that's how they design it. It looks like a living city. It looks
Yeah.
like the idea of, hey, look at people, right? If you look at humans, look at everywhere we live, we don't just make the same house everywhere. We design houses specifically
Mm.
for where they are. So the idea of if there's this creature that could fly through space, why wouldn't it design its home and like the way it lives around flying through space? So that's what they made. They made the ship this giant, like it like looks like almost like I said, it's a flying city. It's you can see like these upside down, like they look like skyscrapers.
Yep.
Um, and it's amazing. They took that UFO design, that simple kind of flying saucer, and made it something more. They made it this, yeah, like almost lived in world. Like we do not go into that. Like we don't even see inside of it. The brief glimpse we get into their world, um, it's just amazing. Like you could easily have. You can make a don't. If there's any stupid fucking companies out here listening to this, right? Don't make, extraterrestrial, Close Encounters 2, right? Don't make Close Encounters 2, okay? But you could almost make an entire film set on that spaceship. That's
Yeah.
how, like, amazing it looks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like what you said about them putting thought into it is hits the nail on the head, because it's a film like we've been talking about, like the idealism and the optimism and the hope in this movie, but that's not to say that it's like a sort of vapid or unintelligent feel good movie. I think that it's also a movie that has, you can tell that Spielberg is genuinely interested in the idea, and it's a movie that it has that good heart, that good sort of nature
Mhm.
to it, but it also comes from a place of genuine thought and intelligence and interest. And I think that those two things just come together extremely well. Um, and so, in spite of any sort of like flaws that I think it does have, particularly in terms of pacing and just in terms of how it handles a story as big as what it's going for, um, I really do adore this movie. So unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I guess we can move into ratings.
Yeah, we can move on to ratings. Okay, well, I think this is a pretty fantastical film, and pretty amazing. Um, but as I outlined before about it, feels like sometimes the plots are competing, and a couple characters that are probably not really required. Even though I'm not like some sort of like movie minimalist, I do feel like there are
Yeah.
points in this film that probably there's some people who could have been cut from the film to give others more lines or screen time or a bit more just ability to be focused on them in the scene. For that, I think for me it drops down to an 8 out of 10. Still an amazing film, but I think because of the way they expanded the ideas, that range of ideas, but because it didn't get it as cleanly as Jaws, for me it drops down to an 8 out of 10.
No, I think that's completely valid. Um, I'm gonna be a little bit biased here because this is I guess a childhood favorite of mine. Come to think about it, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. Flawed but perfect in my heart, and in just in also in terms of my watching experience. I really couldn't nitpick any flaws with it, and yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. Okay. After that short break in recording, we just had to go and have our cigarette break. Harry and I are desperate nicotine addicts. Okay.
Marlboro is my first choice.
I smoke an obscure Ukrainian cigarette you can't buy in many places. It's said to give you extra cancer, double cancer. So anyway, the final film that I recommended is a little known film called E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Some of you might have heard of it if and you've got any film buffs out there, but yeah, no, this was oh my god. So I'm just looking at these numbers now. It had a budget of 10 million and it made a box office of 800 million.
That's ridiculous.
The returns on this are insane.
Crazy.
And this is like Jaws for me. I hadn't watched this movie in quite a while. I'd seen it a little while ago, maybe years, I don't know, early teens or whatever. But this was a welcome return. I think it's no surprise to say that, like the previous two movies, I really enjoyed E.T. What about you? What do you think of E.T. the Extraterrestrial?
I find E.T. in the simplest way to put it, I find this a fun movie. Like,
Yeah.
it oozes charm and fun, and I don't think, like, for me, I feel like this is, again, like Close Encounters. I think there is some issues and flaws to this movie.
Yes.
But
yes.
in the way Close Encounters, like, it sucked me in through its, like, very interesting concepts and the, like, ideas they went for. E.T. like sucks you in by just how charming and fun this movie is. Like, you are, no matter who you are, you are just gonna if you put this movie on, you're just gonna like be there with a dumb fat smile on your face the entire time. And we'll get into the bad later, but on the front foot, I just completely enjoyed myself and like immersed myself in that like childlike 80s whimsy that E.T. is kind of famous for and been like joked about and kind of parodied about for like a long time. It's a very famous movie, so of course it gains that. But yeah, I enjoyed a lot of the main characters in this film and the main boy in this film. And I enjoyed their Elliot. That's it. I enjoyed their love of E.T. And I enjoyed E.T. him like. I guess E.T.'s a guy. I guess I don't. No, I enjoyed the alien. Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, E.T. is a fun character.
I think fun is the optimum way to put it. I think of these three movies, it's certainly the least complex, and that's, to
Mm,
be fair, it's still a lot more complex than like Minions 2 or whatever that kids watch
mm,
nowadays, or what Coco Melon. But
yeah.
in terms of like, it's definitely the one that has the most sort of broad family appeal, and that's already in a series of films that are. I mean, Jaws, you can say, is quite violent, but it's none of these movies are you know, like we've been saying, none of these movies are like art house, obscure cinema. But
Mm,
this is definitely the most sort of like straight to the point, family blockbuster. Take the kids, everyone has a fun time, but everyone really does have a fun time because there's so
yeah.
much in here for people of all ages to enjoy. Um, and it's like we were talking about, or at least I was talking about in Close Encounters, how like childhood whimsy and all of those and that sort of theme was a part of what makes Close Encounters so endearing. This is that sort of like distilled into like like pure 100% dangerously pure levels of that theme, because you couldn't get a more definitive movie about childhood. And in terms of executing that and executing being fun, there's not really much of a criticism you can level at this movie.
Mm,
Um, yeah, just so enjoyable and light-hearted, and yeah, you said like all of the the characters are just really enjoyable to be around,
mm,
and just like the way that they interact with each other and with ET is so charming and endearing and just pleasant, and it's a really nice movie. It's the sort of thing where you're just sort of like any eloquence is sort of like pointless, because at the end of the day, what better describes this than nice? Um,
mm.
I think it's lovely.
Yeah. Trying to think actually of like.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say that I think that with these past movies, we've sort of like talked for a little while about more sort of broad overarching themes, but for this one, I think the themes are childhood is good, and that you get when you're a child, you see things that adults don't, and that it would be nice if everybody in the world had a little bit of that childish whimsy in them, and that's basically it from my perspective, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that maybe there's a little bit less to discuss in terms of like the wide overarching
Yeah,
themes.
unlike Jaws and unlike Close
Close
Encounters,
Encounters.
there's a lot less going on. It's a lot less like it's a lot more smaller scope in a
Hmm.
good kind of way. And
Absolutely.
like again, you're right that childhood whimsy and like just childhood in general, it hits that vibe and feeling directly,
Hmm.
like perfectly in the sense that it 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 shortens its scope. It focuses on a smaller world, but like a more, in many ways, a more captive, a more captivating and interesting world where you like are fully endeared to this family.
Hmm.
Um, and like all four characters in this family, like they're all explored, I think perfectly, and you find yourself liking or being
Yeah.
invested in all of them.
Yeah.
Um, and it all kind of goes in points because a lot of it is from this perspective of Elliot. Um, you see his like very real like frustrations, but also his love for his family. Like he's often seen as the because he's the middle child. He's
The
like
middle child. Yeah.
he's a bit like he's a bit estranged or believes that thinks like his family doesn't really like believe him or like respect him or kind of like sympathize with him a lot. And you see that especially at the start. Um, but as this movie evolves, you also see that his family like does care about him and it is invested. They just can't see that in the initial. Like they have to be shown in that, it has to be pointed out to them directly rather than them immediately um, leaving him and following his like his reality, like especially with the reveal of ET and before that, where his older brother um is initially like totally doesn't believe him and
Right.
makes jokes about how he, like, I don't know, he sees, what is it he says? He sees like a fucking
Like it's a
uh
deformed kid or something.
yeah, isn't it like a bunch of weird things he says is like a deformed kid or like
Maybe it
I
was
think
a
it is.
pervert or a deformed kid or something. I actually wrote that line down because it was
Yeah, there you
funny.
go. Yeah, like he says him and his friends say stupid shit like that, and then when he's actually ET is revealed to him,
He's like,
and
oh my god.
he's like, oh my god, and like it's great to see how quickly he very quickly
Mm.
um is with Elliot, and like, you know,
Yeah.
the two of them work together, and then when his younger sister as well,
Yeah.
the
Baby
three
Drew
of them,
Barrymore.
yeah, is that real?
It's Drew Barrymore. She's like 6
Holy
years old
shit,
or less even. She's
that's
absolutely
ridiculous.
adorable.
That's true. Holy shit, that's hilarious. So
Anyway,
yeah, they're
continue.
just the three of them and their like antics of like hiding ET and like understanding ET is, it's amazing and hilarious. You are so like interested and engrossed in like the three of them's just like
Yeah.
connection with ET, and like the way they learn about ET and kind of understand ET, and they're all three of theirs like own like specific way to like to their age. Like they're
Mm.
all
Yeah.
very kind of realistically play to their age of how like an actual person of that age would kind of react and interact with a fucking alien.
Yeah. With like a weird little like alien. Um
Mm,
and I think that E.T. as a character, I guess he's a character. Well, yeah, no, he is a
yeah.
character. As a creature, is like I mean, this is like a masterpiece in terms of like creature design because E.T.
Oh
is
yeah.
the exact right balance of like he's kind of ugly and weird looking and like a little
Hmm.
creepy at first, but he's also like adorable when you start like you know when you're kind of like Elliot when as in like you spend a little bit of time with him and you're like actually I love E.T. Look at this little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you first see him, you're sort of like put off because he looks weird and he like waddles along. He's like a little like Star Wars glup shitto, but you know he's and I think that that's actually like but like you know like for, in the first scene he has like his glowing heart like you know
Yeah.
it's that's the sort of thing, and we'll get into this when we get into the more critical elements, but like that's the sort of thing where Spielberg is almost he's on the cusp of going too far with the schmaltziness,
Yeah.
but it is very effective. um but I think that uh the film does a very is very good in how it establishes both Elliot and ET in the sense that like, or at least in terms of their situations at the beginning of the movie, whereas wherein, sorry, in ET's first scene, he's being like pursued by these like one really great creative choice is that you never really understand what like the people coming after ET. You never really understand what they are, like
Mm.
whether they're like FBI or whatever. It
Just
doesn't
random
matter. They're
government
just they're just
agents.
they're just shadowy sort of like adult figures, and that's such a brilliant
Mm.
creative choice into it in terms of how it represents the perspective of childhood of like you know it's not about what they want with ET or like you know what their purpose is or who they're representing or what they're agents of. They just represent adult authority, and it
Mm.
immediately puts ET in a position of vulnerability that makes you sympathize with him and connect with him before he's even been sort of like shown in the movie or before you even like before you even um have meet him properly. And then Elliot's first scene with ET, which it is staged like a horror movie, and it is kind of a creepy scene, with the shed and everything.
Mm.
and the cornfields or whatever. Um, it's very good in terms of how it captures that sort of like that element of childhood, which is like the right combination of curiosity and fear, where Elliot is still he's scared by this thing. Like, look at it is weird. Like,
Mm.
there's no logical explanation for this, but at the same time, he has the curiosity of childhood to not just immediately want to like kill it. There are plenty of adults
Mm.
who would be like, "What the fuck is that thing? I'm gonna kill it." Um, uh, and I think that it does a really good job just in those early scenes of establishing those elements.
Mm.
Another thing, unless you have something to say,
Oh, go on.
another thing, this is kind of like I guess it's kind of a small thing, but like I find this movie to be like legitimately hilarious. Um, like I noted down that line about maybe it was a pervert or a deformed kid or something, but there's lots of other funny scenes in there, like that first breakfast scene where it's just the kids and the mum, and I think Elliot calls his older brother penis breath, and like I just love that his mum laughs at that as well, and then sort of like has to collect herself and like be the authority figure, because that does a really good job of bringing her into their world of like and of like making you she's not like an evil authority figure.
Mm.
She's just like part of this it's a very endearing family dynamic, and I think scenes like that do it really well. She's just sort of like caught up in her own world. She's going through like well, no, I don't know if they're getting divorced. Something's going on with Elliot's
Mm.
dad. She's going through her own stuff, working mum in the 80s, probably getting sexually harassed by her boss or whatever. Can't be dealing with this alien stuff. So
Mm.
anyway,
Can't be
we've
dealing with
got
none of this alien nonsense.
can't be doing. I'm going off on some tangent here, but it's a really funny movie. And uh, like just legitimately, I like laughed a lot at it.
Mm. Mm.
Um, yeah. What about you? Is there anything you want to shout out about this film?
Think. Trying to think of things. I do love the design of ET.
Yeah.
I talked to you this before about how there's a lot of uh like uh, I guess like contravening or like there's a lot of opinions basically on ET,
Mm.
the design of ET, because then there's a lot of people who really love it, and there's a lot of people who find him really creepy.
Yeah.
Um, and like I can kind of see both. I feel like I find myself somewhere in the middle where,
Yeah.
or at least actually I think literally through the process of this film, I
Yes.
like went through both, if you know what I mean. As in like
Yeah.
I think it's like my first reaction to seeing the full shot of ET. I did originally think it was like a little bit like weird, and I was a bit like, ugh, it's not. I don't. How do people call this thing cute? This thing's pretty kind of ugly, right? Um, in that kind of like, he did look a lot like a fucking really ugly background Star Wars alien a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but as the movie goes on, you see more of ET's personality, which ET in itself of the way ET interacts with the world and acts in the world is a lot like a child, as in he doesn't understand a lot of things. He's learning a lot of things, but it comes from like a really good place of wanting to learn and understand the world around him and wanting to,
Yeah.
have fun and interact with these kids. Um, you do start to just find yourself like falling in love with it.
Yeah.
Like he is just absolutely adorable in many of the scenes, and incredibly like silly. Like surprising enough, the way they play a lot of the comedy in this movie is actually like E.T. is the silliest and childlike out of
Yeah.
all of the
Well,
characters.
E.T. is like
Um,
meant to be like a child alien, I guess. Like,
mm,
so, like, in some capacity anyway. That's what I gathered, because he meets his mum
mm.
at the end, doesn't he? Or whatever.
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
So, Like, I guess that really works. And there's just, yeah, that like they don't obviously they don't really share a language, but they share that sort of like bond of youth and
Mm.
innocence. It's nothing like there's no like groundbreaking themes going on here,
No,
but
no.
like it's pretty like it's pretty definitive in how it explores them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and like yeah, like the design of ET, I think that like you know I feel like if you were making this movie today, right? Like, let's say E.T. hadn't been made and you were making this movie today and
Mm.
you presented the character design of
Oh
E.T.
god,
to a
you
major film studio, they
immediate
would they
rejection.
would shoot you in the back of the head. It would
Yeah, yeah,
everything these days has to look like Baby Yoda. It has to be a dibby, you know?
yeah,
As I
yeah,
as I hate everything calls it has to be something that you can say. Which is why I guess a movie like Project Hail Mary is like a really a callback to movies like this in some ways, and to Close Encounters. Is it's like it the alien in that isn't particularly cute on a. You saw
yeah.
that movie, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, not like not a particularly adorable alien or anything, but through the
Mm.
course of the movie, it has the trust in its own storytelling to make you connect with it. Um,
Yeah.
and it's the exact same with ET, where like I mean I don't think that ET is ever like especially ugly with his cute bulbous eyes and everything, but like
Mm.
at the same time he's not traditionally cute, and I think it's great that the film has the faith in itself to make you love
Mm.
ET.
I think the big thing about ET is like it's unlike a lot of like modern Dibby characters, um like ET has a long neck and he's quite and like
Yeah,
gangly,
yeah.
like he's got long arms, um and he's like it's all like flesh and he's quite like
His
wrinkly.
proportions are all wrong, but yeah,
Yeah, so like it isn't like a traditional kind of like a cute like a minion is probably like the best example of like
yeah.
how to do like an incredibly modern um like Divi character where like it's like the most kind of pinpoint looking one in sense like as in they've like there's no blemishes on a fucking minion, like it's a perfect sphere, like there's no it's a completely smooth body
Mm.
kind of thing. Like there's no blemishes at all. And then you've got ET, which look, I think both can work. A Minion's not a good example of a modern Divi with a
No.
lot of quality.
Well, it's the worst
Um,
possible, but yeah.
yeah, probably one of the worst examples I could have given. I probably would have been better to give. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Anyway, um, but I think both can work, and I think the way ET works it is, yeah, is ET like is part of his where his look a little bit ugly,
Yeah.
yes, but it's ugly in the same way like a hairless cat is ugly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not immediately the most perfectly cute thing ever, but it's also kind of is in this weird like back and
Mm.
forth way where you kind of look at it and it's quite cute, but then also it's not like it's kind of like an ugly cute. And then, like I said, it's yeah, like we've Conzi said, its personality shines through. And I think that's where it
Yeah.
beats a lot of modern dibbies. Is I think a lot of personality's been taken out of them, and their personality's been replaced with just be cute or
Yeah.
like I don't know, say something stupid or whatever. Whereas ET does actually
He has
act like
such
a
a
character.
personality. He has such
Yeah.
a personality. Like, there's so many. I don't know. You just you have such fun with these characters and with ET. Like, I love all of the scenes of him like drinking beer and getting fat as shit, and then like
Mm,
he just like collapses. Like, there's a lot of visual comedy too. Like, there's also the
mm,
scene where the mum comes home and little baby Dibby Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore is more of a Dibby in this movie than ET.
true.
Is like trying to show her, and then like she opens the door and it just face plants into ET, and he falls backwards perfectly, and she just says, "You killed him already." I laughed so hard at that. You
I love
just
the bit where oh yeah, go keep
no,
going.
sorry, yeah, no,
I was
you
gonna say I love the bit where they get ET in the fucking like
in the dress.
yeah the dress that shit's hilarious.
And then this isn't that the scene where they go out with him and they like he gets confused by the Yoda costume.
Oh yes, yes.
uh, um, oh, it's so good. Um,
Uh,
and then like obviously they do like really schmaltzy stuff like ET like healing Elliot's wounds and making flowers
mm,
grow and stuff. Like, what does he come from, a planet made of chocolate or something? It's like ridiculous. But yeah, it's pretty great. I guess like after that, it sort of like moves towards its like move towards its climax. Like there's obviously the scene
Yeah.
where Elliot and ET go riding, and like they like fly on the bike over past the moon, and
Yes.
which is obviously the poster. And what else is there? Yeah, and then basically after that, that's when the people come in and start trying to dissect ET or whatever.
Yeah. Well, there's this bit where they kind of, well, I think it's the start. They're trying to help.
They are actually trying to help, but it's you never they don't understand is the main thing. They think that they know best, but they really don't, and that's the more than anything. Yeah, they're not a particularly malicious force. Like they're not actually trying to come in and like dissect his organs and everything. I mean, they're gonna do it if he dies, but they are actually trying to help. You're right. They just don't get it. The adults just don't get it, man. I mean,
Yeah, I do really like how a lot of that scene is played, with lots of the ideas that they throw in, because there's the guy who comes up to Elliot and is like talking to him about how he really does care about this,
yeah,
and how he really wants to see like E.T. like happy and healthy, and like how he dreamed about someone like E.T. when he was at Elliot's age. And I do really like how it analyzes these concepts of like how does a child become an adult kind of thing, and like
yeah,
what do they keep, what do they get rid of, right? And I think this guy is quite a good way of showing that, because he himself is like he's kept on to these wants and dreams as a child of like seeing ET, right? But in that same sense, he has gained that kind of that cold, more calculated, more like I guess like in a sense responsible, through being an adult, where he knows like he's consoling Elliot when there's the kind of the fake out death, but in the same sense, him and a lot of his colleagues are kind of like, oh well, whatever. Let's just let's ziplock him up and move him along. Like the bit where he's actually like his death is called by like the
yeah.
doctors, where they're like, "Can
And
someone
they
give me a
just put him in a
time?"
bag and then
They
in
put
the
him
ice.
like that same like yeah. So as much as like a lot of these adult characters have kept on to that want to they want to save ET, they want to I guess befriend ET, and they want to like have ET survive. They also understand that like they've got a protocol to follow, and
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
they know, okay, I have to call a death time, and then we have to bag him up and take him back to the lab kind of thing. So it's that
So we can cut
same,
him open.
yeah, so we can look at, how if he's got 3 hearts or whatever, work out how his like magic finger works, and can we cure cancer with it or whatever, as in
Can we cure
there's
AIDS?
yeah.
That's probably the more pressing thing. Oh, I know.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah.
it's Reagan. He doesn't give a
Sorry,
shit.
no, not AIDS, definitely not. It's a cancer, like I said. Yeah, there's that. It's that clash of being an adult and keeping on to a lot of those ideas and dreams and wants of a child, but also understanding a lot about reality and understanding a lot about being an adult also makes you have that kind of colder way, and and because again this whole film has come through the eyes of a child and through the eyes of Elliot, you you see both. You both see like the consoling adults who want to say, hey, like it's okay, and I'm sorry this turned out like this, and wanting to side with you and whatever. But you also see that side of adults of not understanding why they act in such a maybe what is perceived as a cold, unfeeling way, where in reality it's more of like a it's the job, it's formality, it's all that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
None of it's malicious, but it's not. I guess I don't know what's the word. Like it's something. It's a world where he's not fully able to understand and
Right.
realize and be a part of. So in a sense, it becomes
It
I
becomes
guess an
that, yeah.
antagonistic force,
Yeah.
but that's kind of not the right way of describing it,
No,
because
it
I don't
is.
think
Yeah,
there's
I think
antagonists in a sense, but
I agree with yeah, that's exactly right, I think.
mm,
What was I gonna say? I also like that in this sort of like section of the movie just before like the very final part, they really do make you like sell it to you that ET is like in serious danger here. Like
mm,
they like that scene where they find him, or Elliot finds him in like the sewer, and he's like all white and stuff. He
mm,
looks really sick. I don't think a movie like this today would have the courage to make you, again, unless it's Project Hail Mary, would have the courage to make you think that the cute little Dibby character is actually gonna die. But it
yeah,
makes the final um passage lands so well. And
mm,
I mean, it doesn't make any sense that he dies and then comes back to life and his heart starts beating again. Who cares? Who gives a shit? There's no the exact logic of it doesn't really have any bearing because it's such a great like final payoff when you have that great chase scene,
mm,
and then they just get to the spaceship, um, and they let ET go, and it's a beautiful
yeah,
beautiful little final scene. Dibby Drew Barrymore gives ET a little forehead kiss, and then ET goes to his ET mum. Oh, it's so lovely. Um,
mm.
uh, I mean, God, what else is there to say? I know that's a beautiful final scene. Is there anything else like in terms of like just positives that you want to talk about, or can we should we talk about maybe criticisms now, perhaps?
I think yeah, that would probably be smart to move on to
Well, I guess the only
criticism.
real criticism is that like if you apply any sort of like cynical adult logic to this movie, lots of it sort of starts to fall apart. And not in terms of the fact of like, oh, aliens aren't real. I just more sort of mean in terms of like how people act sometimes, or
Mm,
some of the logic of what happens, or just how damn schmaltzy it is, and how like you know how much it obviously wants you to feel these emotions, and like stuff like that silly scene with Elliot in the class and the frogs, and he like kisses his crush. Remember that
mm,
dumb scene? Stuff like that it's so dumb. There are dumb aspects to this movie, but like that's I mean, I guess that's the main criticism I can think of anyway, is just there are some dumb, overly schmaltzy parts to it just because of what it is.
yeah, I think in spite of yeah the lots of great moments in this film, I do feel like yeah, like you said, it Steven Spielberg in this movie, like a lot of it he hits perfectly, all these beats and these moments, and then there's some bits that are just a little bit too.
They're a bit much.
They're a bit much. Like I feel like you're right. There are parts where they probably could have reeled it in, um, being a little bit more. I guess I don't know if the word is realistic per se, but like just the tone gets like a bit whimsical, too whimsical, and doesn't like
Yeah,
fully follow like through with it. Kind of the whimsy is like I feel like a bit much, and maybe not as earned in some aspects.
yeah,
Um, and then I also find like some of the um the kind of bits in this movie feel a bit like um they kind of drag or are not needed or kind of a rehash of earlier points.
yeah.
Um, like I think especially the scene where like the mother comes home and Gertie, that's remember it, that's who Drew, that's the name of Drew Barrymore's character, Gertie, right? Like an amazing name. Um, she's like ET is like behind her and like behind the couch,
Yeah,
and she's like wanting to introduce ET to their mother, and then she's kind of like doing other stuff and kind of walks away and whatever, and then ET watches
yeah.
some TV or whatever, right? Which I mean, ET watching TV, I kind of do like that.
And
That's
him
kind of
getting fucking hit in the face by the fridge, and then Drew Barrymore says you killed him already. I mean, that is hilarious, but like, yeah,
that's
in terms of like pacing.
yeah. I do find there's bits. The good thing about like you just pointed out in the pacing is Yes, I think a lot of bits probably could have like either been removed or changed for scenes that are exploring different concepts and ideas within the film, so it feels a little bit less like, rehashing like moments. None of them do feel like they're 100% wasted. Like there's still
No.
good parts in all of them. It's just some of them feel like we've already kind of been over. There's a lot of kind of like there's like I feel like there's two or three scenes where they do the same thing of like the mother like kind of
Oh yeah,
uh
like they also do it with the Halloween
missing
costume.
the
Yeah.
Halloween costume, and then there's a bit where she's reading like Gertie a bedtime story, and like ET's like sitting in the closet, and then they're trying
Oh
to like
yeah.
drag ET away. Um, like there's a lot of that, like where it's like these near misses with the mother or this and that. Um, and I feel like it's not as needed, and they all do serve the purpose of like the kids bonding with ET, but I feel like there could have been more parts of it where it's like fully 100% dedicated, and you remove like any other character other than the three kids and ET completely from it. Like they do, I don't know, something together kind of thing to kind of
Mm.
build that bond just a bit more. I I don't think that the kind of the scenes at the end with Elliot and ET I don't think it's like it's not deserved. I think it is deserved, but I feel like they could have just spent more effort and time into building that bond even more and further.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I feel like it almost realizes just like how cute and how charming it's being in these more sort of like chill, low-key hangout scenes with any combination of the family members, and it like, I think that it does a good enough job of establishing the bond between them, but I do feel like there could have been maybe a little bit more focus placed on maybe slightly more um uh direct scenes of like them doing something together, or like them actually establishing a bond, because yeah, the bond mostly rides on just how cute how cute everything about the movie is, how cute they are together. um and that's not ineffective, but I think that like, yeah, they're definitely, there's definitely no there would be no complaints if there was a bit more going on in terms of establishing that bond for me either. Yeah. um but yeah, other than that, I don't have any major criticisms. Um,
No, there's not too much like the other two. There's not a lot that it actually gets wrong.
no.
Um,
Um, I would say
yeah.
also again, John Williams is doing some god tier stuff here.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
always.
this is, I think this is honestly maybe his best of the three, to be honest.
Mm,
It's kind of incredible. Like,
yeah, I
yeah,
can see
like,
that.
and I also think that just his style works the best for this movie. Like
Mm.
he's the whimsy and the joy of this movie is so perfectly like tailored for him. And I would also say that for a movie that is driven by like child acting performances, they do a pretty solid job.
Yeah, very
Most
true.
acting performances aren't flawless, but I would say they do pretty good for their ages. There's actually a fun video you can find on YouTube that's like the actor who plays Elliot, his final audition where he got the job, and like you get to see his reaction to him getting the role. It's pretty cool,
Mm.
and he's great for it. Um, God, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
Mm. No, I feel like that's basically
Yeah, I mean
the
that's
main.
basically it. Um, yeah, I guess we can move into ratings then. So I'll go first. Uh, yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. I think this is um really wonderful. What about you, Harry?
I think this is a nine out of 10. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
Sweet.
think there's not really much I can dock much or other than what we already stated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another. Well, that's good. That's another really highly rated episode from us.
Hmm.
Um, we didn't give anything lower than an 8. All of it
Yeah.
sits around like 9 average. So I guess all that's left now is for you to tell me whether that trend is going to continue or not. So are you going to
Well,
be are you going to be good, or are you Are you going to be bad, Harry?
Well, I'm gonna throw it back to you, because I'm gonna ask you.
The
I've
same
got I've got
question.
three options. I've got three options.
Okay.
I've got a bad one, a good one, and a middle of the road one.
Oh shit. Okay. Are these all individual movies? Tell me a little bit more a bit about
So
like.
we've got our good, which I think I'm basically gonna reveal what it is by saying giving you the brief explanation. I've got a good one, which is related to this and is a trilogy.
Yeah. Okay. I
Uh,
was expecting you to do that. Yeah.
so I assume by already that you can tell what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I've got a middle of the road, slightly weird, and then it's similar to our overlooked DreamWorks one,
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
sense it's two movies who are by the same director, not by Steven Spielberg, by a different
Hmm.
director.
Yeah.
I think around the same time they would be, which are got a lot of positives and I think a lot of negatives to them, so they're kind of middle of the road one. Or I have got, hang on, I'm looking. I've got a few options for bad ones, so I'm trying to think of which one I'd prefer to do out of all of these. I have got, yeah, I've got a very bad one, a bad comedy that you will not like, and it's a trilogy of. I don't know if they're actually considered full-length films, but more like, I guess, short films that like the three of them together would um make it probably about like, I don't know, a total length of maybe say like an hour and a half maybe or something
Oh
like that.
Jesus. Okay. Well, that's a
On
thrilling.
a 2 hour,
Good.
a total of 2 hours and 39 minutes. Actually, that's a lot longer than I thought they were, but that's fine.
It's a thrilling
But like three
proposition.
together is the same as like one of these films.
Yeah. True. Oh God. Okay. Hmm. Uh. Oh fuck it. Let's do the bad one. Go
Okay,
on.
well, you're really not gonna like this then. I have got for you. I've got for you the trilogy. Laugh It Up Fuzzball, the Family Guy trilogy,
Oh Jesus Christ. Okay.
which is Family Guy's Star Wars parody.
Okay. Um. That that could have been worse, but that's not a pleasant outlook. Okay, yeah. I mean, I did expect you to just do Jurassic Park, so but I
Hmm.
figured we've kind of a good run going for a little while now. So,
True, we need something to be
we really
angry
haven't reviewed
about.
anything abysmal since the first
Hmm.
episode. So, yeah. Well, that's that. It's about to go midnight here in Brisbane, so I guess we should sign off now. Join us
Yeah.
next time, hopefully a lot sooner than the gap
Yeah.
between these two. For what is it? Laugh It Up, Fuzzball, The Family Guy, Star Wars, fucking bullshit, whatever.
Yep, that will
Um,
be it.
and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for stopping by.
Sayonara.